The Sound Solutions range of systems are designed to enhance the acoustic environment within the home, both reducing the intrusion of unwanted noise and also allowing people to enjoy sound without the concern of disturbing others around them. GypLyner UNIVERSAL is a cost-effective, virtually independent metal-framed wall lining system for upgrading the acoustic performance of walls in existing buildings when floor space is limited. The system only requires 55 mm of floor space, but additional performance can be obtained by utilizing a larger cavity depth from the existing wall in conjunction with longer GL9 GypLyner brackets. Before we get started, let's take a look at all the components and accessories used in the system. GypFrame GL1 is the main upright lining channel. The GL1 is supported by the shorter GL2 brackets. The GL2 brackets are fixed in place with a GypFrame GL11 GypLyner anchor. GypFrame GL3 channel connectors are used to extend the length of the GL1 section as required. GypFrame GL8 is used on floors, ceilings, internal angles, and, where applicable, is used to form the head and sill to door and window openings. Gyprock waferhead screws are used for metal-to-metal fixing, and Gyprock drywall screws are used to fix 15 mm Gyprock sound block onto the GypLyner Universal system. 15 mm Gyprock sound block specialist acoustic plasterboard. 25 mm ice-over acoustic partition roll acoustic glass mineral wool insulation, which is positioned in the wall cavity. Gyprock sealant, which is supplied in foil sausages for sealing around the perimeter of the system to provide optimum acoustic performance. Now we will start to build the system. Start by removing any pictures from the wall. Lift any carpets, underlay and gripper rods. Use an oscillating saw to cut the short returns of skirting to the total depth of the lining being installed. Progress to remove the skirting board. Very often the plaster will not continue down to the floor surface, and there will be gaps between the floorboards and masonry wall. When this occurs, it is important to fill the gap at the floor level with thistle undercoat plaster. This will minimize any air leakage and improve optimum sound insulation when the new lining system is installed. Ensure all surfaces have been isolated by a competent tradesperson to enable works to start. Using a straight edge and level, we need to determine the standoff from the wall, either from the high point or taking into account any surfaces which may be located in the lining system. Mark plumb positions at both ends of the wall. Mark the floor and ceiling with a chalk line or laser level to indicate the position of the GypFrame GL8 track. GL8 track is cut to length with tin snips. Progress to fix the GL8 track to the floor, ceiling and internal angles at 600 mm centers. Ensure you can gain a suitable fixing for the head track and, where applicable, use a screw length no greater than the floorboard thickness to ensure you do not screw through any surfaces within the floor void. GL8 tracks at each end of the wall are fixed into the masonry background with appropriate fixings at 600 mm centers. Mark vertical lines on the wall at 600 mm centers to indicate the position of the GL1 lining channels and the position for the GL2 bracket fixing centers. Mark horizontal lines at 800 mm centers to determine the individual bracket position, or use a chalk line or laser level to help mark the positions. Using a detector and taking into account electric sockets and switches, check to make sure that there are no surfaces at the point where you will be drilling into the background. Using a hammer drill with a 6 mm masonry drill bit, drill the holes in the marked positions. Position each bracket with the ribs to the wall and fix through the bracket slot into the background using a GypFrame G11 GypLyner anchor, which is a hammer fixing. To minimize the noise to next door's property, the anchors can also be screw-fixed into position with a cordless drill as demonstrated. Continue to install the rest of the GL2 brackets. When you have cut the GL1 to length as demonstrated, either round off the end with tin snips or knock the small flange back into position with a hammer. To install the GL1 section, apply pressure against the front leg of the GL8 track, pulling the section towards you. This will now allow engagement as you slide the GL1 into position. Gyp frame GL1 lining channels should be cut to a good fit within the gyp frame GL8 track. We are now ready to fix the GL2 brackets to the GL1 lining channels. Bend the bracket legs forward and fix each leg to the channel using a Gyprock wafer head screw. Insert the screw through the hole in the bracket nearest to the back of the GL1 lining channel. Make sure you do not put any backwards or forward pressure on the channel when you are screw fixing the brackets into position. If you do, a straight and true lining surface may not be achieved. Bend back any protruding bracket legs so they sit clear of the channel face. This will also help to hold the 25mm ice-over acoustic partition roll into position. Using a short length of gyp frame FEA1 steel angle, suspend 25mm ice-over acoustic partition roll in the cavity prior to fixing the Gyprock soundblock plasterboard. Ensure the linings are sealed at internal corners around the perimeter with Gyprock sealant to provide optimum sound insulation from the lining system. Where electric sockets need to be extended and brought forward into the new lining system, use gyp frame service support plates. This allows a fixing for plywood pattracing where applicable when metal backboxes are installed. Measure the height of the 50mm Gyprock soundblock board required. Mark the board and cut using a handsaw or a retractable safety knife. Fix the base layer of sound block at 300mm centers to the GL1 sections and GL8 track. For the second layer, start with a 600mm wide board to ensure the joints are staggered between the base and second layer. Continue to fix the second layer at 300mm centers. Job done! Your lining system is now complete and ready for plastering or jointing, before skirtings are fixed into position.